All right, guys, welcome back to the World Championship Series, Europe Premier League, as we now get into our first series to determine who moves on to the round of 16. Is it going to be VortiX or is it going to be BabyKnight?
I have no idea, is my answer. I'm not too sure which player to see go through. Of course, here is Group C, and we will have the winners match in a couple of seconds' time. So looking forward to this one. We've seen the 2 games already been played out at the start, and now it's time to find out our first player from Group C to make it into the round of 16. As mentioned, I don't know which player will make it through, to be honest.
Yeah, it's up in the air. It really is. After seeing BabyKnight, I would say bring an upset and beat 4GG very nicely there, actually, especially in the third game. Now he's looking good. He's looking good. He's looking on point, but VortiX is VortiX. And these guys have so much history behind them. We were just recalling the particulars of Season 1 encounter between these 2 players, and it was a blinder.
Yeah, they've played some great series in the past. They started in the World Championship Series 2012 in Sweden, where we saw VortiX win Season 1 last year. BabyKnight won Season 3 last year, where VortiX won again. And overall, VortiX has a 4-1 record against BabyKnight. Now, which way is it going to go? I don't know. You don't know. You guys at home don't know.
No one knows.
No one knows. We're about to find out.
These guys don't know either. This guy spawning up to the left hand, he doesn't know, although he's probably quite confident in himself. Respawning as our red Zerg, it is Mouse VortiX. And down to the south, we have our blue Protoss representing Millennium. And after a Millennium T-kill, it is BabyKnight.
All right, so loading into Heavy Rain here. It of course favors Swarm Host. And I'm quite sure, I said it earlier on, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm sure we will see Swarm hosting in this series. Definitely. VortiX has mentioned in the chat just now that the power of Swarm Host is pretty good, and I'm sure we'll see that come through. But BabyKnight overall, I'm interested to see how he's going to approach this series. Already opening up here with a Gateway expand over a regular Forge or Nexus expansion.
And we're going to wait yet to see what BabyKnight VortiX is going to do even. I am under the impression that VortiX is probably a little more confident about what his opponent's going to be opening up with compared to Little Bow, because, you know, BabyKnight is a bit more documented in comparison. But by the same token, BabyKnight being more documented means he's just kind of a scarier player on the international scene. So VortiX does have to be careful.
Yeah, BabyKnight's got a lot of just mid-tier results throughout his last couple of years in StarCraft. Whereas VortiX has got a couple of higher finish places. I think he's got 4 top 4. That's 4 semi-final finishes throughout his entire career. And there's been points, if we look just the last season or the seasons before that, where he was looking to be, you know, challenging for a top position.
Yeah.
VortiX, and he's always been able to bring good games. He's played MMA in the past and beat MMA here and there. He's played some good Terrans. He's always been good against Protoss players, and he's always had a pretty standard and solid ZVZ too. So he's an all-round good package of a player.
Unfortunately for him, he was eliminated by MMA during the last season of WCS Europe, but that was the eventual champion of the entire thing. So that's not exactly the most amazing of positions for VortiX to be in, but he can go home and be safe and happy in the fact that he lost to the champion. So that was all right.
All right, so just 14 spawn and pull into hatchery here, and 2 Zerglings out fast, and they'll just go straight for this probe, where we do have the Nexus coming down in a couple of seconds. He did not cancel the Zealot here, upon seeing that this is a spawn and pull build, and there are links already out here. If he did, then he would have to rely just on the Mothership Core, and if it's not only just for defense this Zealot, he can easily turn this into aggression. Why can't he go over across the other side of the map shortly with his Mothership Core and Zealot to put a bit of pressure on? So multiple purposes for this Zealot.
Yeah, and, well, aside from that, still only has the 1 gas here.
But Chrono Boosting into the Cyber Core leads us to believe that he would like to be aggressive here. You don't need to Chrono Boost into it this early.
Yeah, and you certainly don't need that 2nd gas either here for BabyKnight if he wants to add on additional gateways. And he was very active about stopping that link from getting in. There's even the probe turned around and tried to fend that off. So there's the gateways for now.
Yeah, and there's a probe that's escaped to the top right here. So we are going to see a bit of an attack come out from BabyKnight, but an attack to what? There's no 3rd base.
Yeah, and this is what we normally see from VortiX, right? He normally goes for a later 3rd base. So BabyKnight's going to try and press his advantage at the 3rd.
Awesome pylon placement, though.
Yeah.
It depends on when this 3rd gets taken. It may not be taken early, which means his push is almost redundant, unless he breaks through to the natural, which could be the cause, because remember, there's no units right now. He's only just taking his gases. There's no Roach Warren, nothing. And so far, this has gone undetected. Vortex has got no idea. He's going to poke into the natural and see, wait a minute, okay, well, okay, there's probes, cool. But hasn't spotted the lack of second gas, hasn't seen the gateways been added on, and hasn't found the probe or pylon.
Yeah.
So he's gone straight to layer.
He spotted the Zealot on the right-hand side, but that's not a full cell. He doesn't. He still had drones in production.
BabyKnight's going to move up and be like, wait a minute, he's got a third.
There's no third.
There's a couple of queens and a spine crawler coming in, but still, there's slow Zerglings and no Roach Warren. He should build a more forward pylon, but the probe's gone home, so he may cancel his plans altogether to try to do any damage.
Yeah, Vortex is just playing out this matchup in his way, and right now it's holding out well, because BabyKnight's like, well, okay, there's no third. I guess He even checks the other third location with his mothership card. It's like,
he's
not
like,
there.
He's like, what are you doing? And then we have a Roach Warren coming in immediately for Vortex here. But BabyKnight can't do anything. He's going to clean up the overboard, and I imagine he'll start taking maybe all 3 gases at once. And just look to tech up a little bit here. I'm not sure what he's going to plan to do from this point. But actually, he's warped in a couple of Stalkers with his Zealots. Okay, so I didn't see that warp in.
I guess he gets a few Overlords for his troubles whilst he's here, but aside from that, there's not really too much else.
But what we see from Vortex here is going to be Roach Speed. It's probably going to be Boron Tunneling Claws along those lines. And here comes the tech switch. Stargate and then gas is starting to be taken. And BabyKnight's like, well, I tried to kill your third. You didn't take a third, so I guess I won't kill anything now. And with 2 spines and these queens, he's not going to do anything.
Still looking for another Overlord. We'll get one down to the south here. So any damage that he can do is good from this point, considering that it was a little bit of a lackluster. But
yeah, I mean, he's killed 3 Overlords now, including one that was scouting inside his main base. 2 outside, 1 inside. Better than nothing. He's got his Stargate down. Can start to tech up a little bit further from this point. And knows his opponent's on 1 base. But he doesn't know what he's playing against. That's still a big problem. Maybe the Mothership Core can try and find out here.
And he's still poking on out.
Sees the layer and is like, well, sees his queens, builds an Oracle, and that's going to be used aggressively and also for scouting. He just doesn't know what he's playing. This could be layer, could be Hydras, could be, as we see, Roach play. He doesn't know.
Yeah, Revelation is
the revolution of the Oracle.
It's a good spell. So I guess, you can keep an eye on things that are going on over there as well. Maybe if he drops it on anything, really. I mean, queens, any buildings he wants to watch and look around as well.
Yeah.
So
I like how BabyKnight's just getting rid of Spire play from his mind. He's like, you can't be serious. 2-base Spire, it's just not good. Stalkers are enough to defend it. Photon overcharge. And he's got the Oracle alone, got +1 attack, and now a robotics facility for detection. Still no idea. He's going to take down a third anyway. But here comes the Oracle.
And I don't think he gets a whole lot done unless he can find a sweet spot. So, yeah, he spotted that, but that's about it.
So, maybe if he saw the first game of the day, he can now start to imagine this is going to be Roach Burrow.
Could do.
Because that's how Vortex played on this map against Little Bow just earlier today. So if we see a mortal production begin without really seeing the units, then we already know. He'll build an Observer for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then over to Immortals, maybe.
And then we have the Infestation.
Oh, no, straight to Immortals. He's already assuming.
Oh, wow.
He's going to rely on cannons for detection.
And the Infestation bit's coming out as well. Similar to what we were seeing from Vortex before, but he could happily... I think what he does here is he actually does go Swarm Host this time.
It's a lot of units. These Roaches.
On either side, looking to poke in.
Sentry's going to have to be pretty good at landing these force fields.
And they could deny quite a bit of the damage from being done if the force fields are good, but he's coming in from the back side as well here with these Roaches, so he has to be careful.
Yeah, definitely needs to be. Seen the Infestation Pit, but I'll come back to that in a second, because this Roach attack's going to go on.
Yeah, and he's actually positioned his army quite nicely, but he's also poking in with the Roaches, and they're going to get themselves an Immortal. That's a nice pickup if he can actually hunt that down, and indeed he will do. Also going for the cannon whilst the
detection, and Burrow's almost done. Well, not Burrow's almost done, but Talon Close is almost done.
He needs an Observer.
Yep, this is really nice. This is a really nice play there. He just needs to get a little bit more damage done if he's going to lose all his Roaches.
And they're focusing down the Nexus. That wasn't very good. And they're going to burrow and run away into the main. So now he has to get an Observer. He's getting +2 blink.
And he's still got Roaches on the left too, killing Sentries, killing Zealots.
Yeah, anything that they can get here is very nice. He even burrowed some of these units so they could heal and save themselves. Really nice play here from Vortex so far.
Yeah, look at you. I think it's maybe Leenock or someone's played a similar style to this in the past, and it's really nice. This is very effective, and it's very confusing at first for BabyKnight, but you cannot let these Roaches in, because now it's much more difficult to deal with them. He has to use the Envision on the Oracle. There's Roaches hiding, there's Roaches coming to his third. He's enemies, like you said, split up, and we will see Swarm Host from this point afterwards. But he's getting so much damage done with just the initial starting roaches.
Yeah, he got a few sentries there with a lot of energy, and it's a great tool to buy time for furthering this position. And he kills off the cannon. He can burrow again because the observer's out of location and run away and fight another day.
Great use of the recent change to these roaches.
Well, he has to move away from there now. They don't have any force fields, though, so even if they wanted to, they couldn't have sealed those units in. And as we said, with that Enduring Locusts on the way, I don't really see too much of a window that BabyKnight can really hit.
No, there's no window to hit against Swarm Hosts like this. But he doesn't really know exactly what's going on as the follow-up here. The Infestation Pit could have been for anything, still technically. So the Oracle is going to go out and scout some more, but there's more Roach Squads out. We'll see the Swarm Host being built in a couple of seconds here. And from this position, BabyKnight has stabilized, but mustn't let these roaches in again. If that happens, then he'll start to unstabilize.
It's basically exactly the same move we just saw before.
Just stronger.
Yeah.
Because there's more. But then again, BabyKnight has more too. But here we see the natural.
He was drawn completely away, and now these units just walk on in. Oh, they need to kill that Zealot. Get the Zealot.
Yeah, nice warp in. Really good warp in there.
Hey, burrows under. He's going to try and get on top of the Immortal once again, but the vision is there.
And the third is going to be attack Kalaris.
Yeah. All the army came back. I'm surprised that BabyKnight isn't splitting up these units as efficiently as I would like to see, because he leaves some workers.
God, this is intense by VortiX. This is really putting the pressure on BabyKnight, and this is difficult to deal with.
Yeah. There's the fourth base on the way behind this as well, and once he deals with all his roaches, he's like, phew, right, okay, I'm done. Then there's going to be Locusts, and he's like, no! This is going to be a bit annoying.
35 probes.
Jeez.
There's 39 left.
That's actually really difficult to recover from here for BabyKnight. He's going to have to sit around on these three bases, be super defensive.
Just think, if you're playing against Swarm Hosts, are you using Zealot, Stalker, Immortal, Sentry against Swarm Hosts?
No.
A unit that you have to have splash damage against? No. He still isn't really prepared for it because he's been too busy dealing with the roaches. He needs to stabilize. He needs to use that robotics bay, which is what it was built for in the first place. He needs to start Colossus production. Ideally, he needs a second robotics facility. But his income's been so hurt throughout all of this that it's not going to be easy to make these moves ready.
I wonder how much he actually has in terms of intel as to what's going on. He has to assume it's Swarm Host, right?
Yeah, he can assume it's Swarm Host from this point. He doesn't know for sure, but he's making the assumption. It's at the moment, what he only knows 100% is that it's still roaches, but he sees the Infestation Pit for a very, very long time. It still could be high, but adding Colossus into this...
And the roaches are going to continue their assaults. They get a Zealot, a burrow away.
But the Swarm House count, what is it, 14? 2 more, 16? There's no way this army breaks it.
No, absolutely no way. And in fact, it not only doesn't break it, but it actually can't really go for a fight at all, unless you're throwing down a lot of force fields and expending a lot of energy. But then you're trading away energy and maybe a few units for nothing.
This is a big move coming out here from VortiX. He's off creep, he's far away. This is a big move from him. Mistakes here can cost him all these Swarm Hosts, which, as you can see, he's starting to run away. This is scary off creep, but he allows roaches to get into the natural instead.
And they were trying to get on top of that Colossus. If they can bring the Colossus count down, then they're going to be very, very happy indeed, trying to micro away as best he can do. But the roaches decide to split up instead and go for even more probes. 37 have already gone down.
And now the Locust from a distance. Beautiful play from VortiX this game. Absolutely, really eye-opening and educational play from him.
Yeah.
He's going to start sieging from a distance. That means his Swarm Host can get away if needed. And he's going to start trading off against the Protoss army, which isn't still ready to fight against Swarm Hosts.
Anything you can get is going to be fantastic. He actually tries to focus down the Photon Cannon once again to make it even harder for his opponent to keep an eye on what's going on. There's only one observer. It is technically with this army, but... I mean, he's got to be so careful.
All right, so he sees the Swarm Host now. He's got that observer with him.
Yeah.
Maybe one more wave and then pull out from VortiX? He surely can't stay.
He can't stick around. There's no way he can stick around because it's getting right on top of him. Yeah. He loses one Swarm Host. Run away, my friend.
Yeah, but then the Locusts do damage. But there's roaches on the natural that are kind of causing a headache.
Yeah, to the point of 50 workers now.
There's a lot of roaches. The follow-up's been initiated now. Corruptor and Greater Spire's been activated from VortiX, who's looking towards Broodlords. But yeah, that was a little bit scary. As mentioned from the very start of that movement there was always going to be scary. Swarm Hosts are great, but off creep, they're obviously weak.
Nice blink forwards. Catches 2 of those on the retreat out. Catches a lot of the roaches as well on the reinforce. He has to get these Broodlords out, actually, because this is BabyKnight saying, it's my time to go.
There's still a lot of roaches and still quite a few swarm hosts, though. And Corruptors coming in for the Colossus.
Oh, God,
if
yeah,
the Colossus die with the Corruptors, then I still think these Locusts are good and roaches.
Yeah, the Locust is just going to push this on back once again, and a lot of his space control. Oh, he brings down one of the Colossi. A lot of his space control's gone because he doesn't have energy on those sentries to hold all of this back, which was his linchpin. But those Corruptors fly and they kill off all the Colossi, and now there's no splash for those dear Locusts.
And I mean, some people may be watching this say, "Why isn't he using a Warp Prism?" Well, yeah, good luck trying to squeeze out a Warp Prism in this type of game. Overall, I really think that VortiX is and may have potentially held something back and is showing some really sick play now. Against Lilbo, it looked shaky. We questioned his form earlier on. I heard that he's in really good shape right now, but this is the game that we would have said he's in sick shape if we saw this against Lilbo.
Yeah.
But this is really good right now from VortiX. This is something that he kind of used to save him against the Immortal push, but kept back from it in the rest of the series, and is now really showing some really powerful strength.
It's not just the execution of it. It's like he's not giving BabyKnight any room to breathe ever. It's the roaches into the swarm host pressure and now the broodlords. You can't counter all of this from BabyKnight's position.
No, he can't. And this next fight is going to basically show you that.
This is actually going to be scary because I mean, I don't know actually how you deal with this. He's got 3 Colossi, yes, and actually he's done pretty well to get those 3 back up after losing the rest.
He hasn't got the right tech to fight this yet. It's that simple. He just doesn't have the right units yet.
He needs at least Tempest.
Storm. He needs Tempest. He needs Archons. He needs Air. Like, he just doesn't have any of it. And this fight is quite easily going to go in favor of VortiX.
Yeah, he sees this marching forwards, but there's very little he can do about it as now VortiX barrels down upon this third base. And, I mean, he's losing just unit after unit to Broodlings and Locusts. Yes, a few Roaches are marching on forwards with that as well, but there's still even energy for transfuses. Keeps 2 of these, well, one of the Broodlords alive. Second one will end up falling there. But look, that Broodlord is just not dying whilst everything on the ground is melting away.
This is really good play. This is really inspiring. This is good.
VortiX.
And it's not the Swarm Host a boring style. This is actually a great game for VortiX.
It was. No, you're right. He was constantly on the aggressive position, on the aggressive stance with this. And now, BabyKnight, again, I have to commend him for getting up to this Colossi account and trying to hold on, but jeez, BabyKnight looked really, really good here.
And just as BabyKnight was able to deal with Swarm Hosts and Roaches alone, comes the Broodlords and Corruptors, just perfectly well timed.
Scary, scary game for game number 1 here as BabyKnight is staring down the barrel, unfortunately for him. He's having to micro on back and try and get himself that third base up to the right-hand side, but blinks forwards and transfuses. Don't let the Broodlords die. Of course, he gets 2 in the end, but the Locusts and Broodlings are having the way with this army.
Yep, and this, like I mentioned, he just doesn't have the right tech. Stalker Colossus isn't good enough to beat all this. With the money, look at the money VortiX has too. He's just able to keep powering through. And this, I'm going to say it again, I have to keep saying it, this has been a fantastic game from VortiX. Absolutely fantastic game from him. And he will take map number 1 away from BabyKnight here. And looks to further extend his already winning streak against BabyKnight, which is 4 games to 1 over the last couple of, the last year or 2.
BabyKnight's going to have to bring something special to game number 2 if this is how things are going to go. He blinks forwards, though, once again, to bring down a few more of these Broodlords, but whilst that happens, well, we all know the rest, guys. All these Stalkers get killed off by the ground army. As VortiX is just going to sit around here and keep piling it on.
Yeah, BabyKnight very resilient with these Stalkers, doing his best with just Stalkers, but can Stalkers beat these Swarm Hosts? Can they beat the Broodlords? Can they beat the Queens? Well, they can beat the Queens, but not with the Swarm Hosts and the Broodlords.
Nope. GG.
And, GG's called. Great game from VortiX.
Crazy, crazy game. Well done there by VortiX for game number 1, looking menacing. And now BabyKnight has a tall order ahead of him because I think even we may have underestimated him in the Lilbo game. We were like, well.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say there's one peed off Terran in the low bracket looking for some comeback revenge as well. So.
All right, well, game number 1 is concluded. VortiX looking strong. BabyKnight, though, he can bring it back, but he's going to have to do something wild and wacky. Do we know what the map is?
It's going to be Frost, which can be used for Swarm Host, but is not as good as other maps for Swarm Host. It's difficult to extend yourself up to 5 bases. It's difficult to stop the Protoss player because you're so far away. Protoss player can freely expand. What we see a lot on this map from Zerg players is Zergling and Ultralisk combinations. We saw that just earlier today with VortiX.
Yeah, I do like that. You can, there's so many angles to come in from, and even in that position where we were like, is this really the best engagement? He knew what he was doing. He was trading away Stalkers, even though they were in a good defensive location. And in the end, you know, did all right for himself against a 3-base Little Bow. So,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, really good games today, as expected, even though we had a couple of hiccups and technical difficulties. So thank you very much for bearing with us through those. But now we are really going into this and getting quite into it, as we did have breaks to slow us down. But I'm thinking that this next map is definitely where BabyKnight could start a comeback in this series.
Yeah.
Could start to challenge for first place.
I mean, we could happily see BabyKnight use a similar build to the one Little Bow did on this map, but maybe pull it off with a little bit more finesse, a little bit more accuracy. Yeah. No disrespect to Little Bow, of course, but BabyKnight's been a veteran of the scene for a little bit longer. So, anyway, we're going to be getting onto this one.
Really, really impressed with the entertainment there that Swarm Wars play gave us.
Yeah, it was good. Really
good.
good.
I'm really impressed by that. And you know, sometimes people do hate on Swarm hosts, but once you play them and start to understand how they work, it is quite cool to see. And I think that was a good display of fascinating Swarm host.
Very good.
It's no
use.
Stefano game, is it?
No, certainly not.
That would be a bit different.
That would be not as entertaining, I think. But it's also cool to note that there's a very finite number that VortiX goes up to there when he's set up across those 3 bases. Because let's remember, he wasn't on a 3rd base for quite a while.
Yeah.
He goes up to 16 Swarm hosts and then is looking for that transition, looking to go away from it. As long as he's done the right amount of damage that he did do in that game. He got like 35 workers before that. Crazy stuff.
If we see a similar style come out again on one of the other maps, because this may not have that same approach, we may see a regular 3-base setup from the Zerg. But if we do see that 2-base setup, I really think BabyKnight's going to start to challenge that a little bit. He's a player that won't go ahead and be like, you know, I'm not going to try to do anything against it in this series. I want to practice against it. But he's more of a player, I feel, that would be like, all right, I'm going to try something here. And that kind of style. So I would like it to go to Game 3 and potentially see something similar from VortiX and see how BabyKnight reacts.
Well, spawn down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Zerg. Currently 1 game up. It is Mao's VortiX. And down to the bottom left, we have our blue Protoss. It is Millennium's BabyKnight.
I mean, I say that Swarmers aren't that useful on this map. They're still not, but in these positions, they're not terrible bad.
Yeah.
Because you can, of course, take control of the Zalnogatow, keep your waypoints, you know, hammering into the Protoss that way. But the Zergling upgrade is the more favored style here. But BabyKnight is opened up with a pylon down on the low ground, is switching things around. Is going to scout first as well, which will keep VortiX away from any hatchery first play, which he did choose on this map earlier when he was playing against Lil Bo.
We'll have to see if then the second probe is going to come down to this low ground, but for now he's just sending out that first one, so he will find him early. He'll find him early, and this will prompt VortiX to just go for spawning pool. Not really much you can do from there.
Yeah, I mean, he can't get the hatchery down while the probe's there. It can just block, 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 and then even if the drones come down to stop it, it can just throw down a pylon anyway. So it has to be a spawning pool opening here from VortiX, who throws down the 15 spawning pool. Difference is that he's gone for 14 most of the times here. I think that just tells us that he probably would have gone hatchery, and he's like, all right, well, I'll just 15 pool instead and get it after. BabyKnight has gone quite far up when it comes to his probe count here. Could be going for a Nexus first.
It's looking like it. It could still be an economical Forge play.
Yeah, it could still be a late Forge, because it obviously is a spawning pool first here. If Lings were built and rushed across, then obviously he might need the Forging Cannon, but he is going to go Nexus first.
He's just trying to block this off where he can with this probe on that rally and trying to dance around, but
oh, nice. Oh, that was almost a kill there.
And it will recover shield. So yeah, that was very close to a kill. A hair off, really. Very, very close.
So Forge has been thrown down straight after the Nexus, then probes did begin again. And then we are going to see a gateway. So with a gateway coming in at this time, he could, let's just think about what he has done and what he could have done. Built the pylon first, then the gateway, which could have increased his economy by a little bit more, because right now he has to stop his probes when he reaches the max out supply count, and he also has to get ready to build a cannon now.
Yeah.
But he could have done it the other way around. He could have gone for the pylon, continue to build probes, add the cannon, then add the gateway. So with the gateway being down just a tad faster, it could mean that he wants to be a little bit aggressive. Obviously, when you're aggressive, you want every second you can on your side. He does have a probe in the wall here, just in case his Lings try to break it.
Yeah.
He shouldn't need... Well, actually, it could be close. He might need a pylon.
He may do. And he's going to throw one down.
It's
It's
okay,
very
though.
important.
It's kind of sucky you have to build it and cancel it, but at least the links don't get in.
Yeah.
Which means the probe is free out on the map, though.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting that he didn't look to pursue that, as it's currently just rallied on around. But it was getting confirmation of the third, and maybe VortiX realized that eventually it would try and come back anyway to get confirmation of that third.
Yeah. And as expected, this is a 3 hatchery opening here from VortiX. Not going to play the same style that he played just now, especially against the opening that we do see from BabyKnight, who's not looking to be aggressive early on at all. VortiX can get away with quite a strong economy, and depending on how greedy he wants to be will depend on when he takes his extractors. Obviously, extractors means he can get up to Zergling speed, upgrades, units that can be used defensively and aggressively. The standard time is 6 minutes, which is fine. If you want to be aggressive or more defensive, you can take even earlier. If you don't give a crap, you can go higher than 6 minutes.
And VortiX for now is just droning, not really doing a whole lot more. Whilst we have First Zealot finished up, and he's adding on the Stargater's BabyKnight. So BabyKnight from here, I do enjoy watching his Stargate play. He's normally very, very good with Phoenix, very active about it, keeps them alive quite well. But at the same time, VortiX is probably going to... VortiX normally is able to spot his opponent's tech quite well.
Yeah.
So let's see when he's going to send in those Overlords. He's already sending one in.
Yeah, he should be able to pick this up, though. There is a Stalker being made, which may deny it, but it's going to be close. Depends on which way the Overlord goes. If it goes straight towards the Stargate, it'll see it. If it goes towards... Okay, it should be able to see it, even with the Stalker there, unless he turns around.
Yeah, that Stalker's... Oh, it didn't even get shots off as it was running towards it anyway. So this is a confirmed spot for VortiX, unless he does change direction, as you mentioned.
Yeah, he should be able to spot it.
And he would have spotted it anyway because of the units that will eventually be created. But he's being inactive with it.
And this is quite a fast third base coming out from BabyKnight.
Yeah.
He knows his opponent at this point is playing a 3-hatch style, knows the standard time is 6 minutes to start his gas, right? So if he knows that, then he knows its speed is going to start around this time too, which means there's no form of aggression for quite a while, which means now the Nexus can actually complete. The one thing that he's missing is the Mothership Core. Mothership Core should be added on in the next couple of seconds, because if he doesn't, then he won't have the Photon Overcharge ready. So that's the whole point of getting the Nexus up fast, is that it's completed, that you can use Photon Overcharge. He's also building an Oracle, which... he's not going to dedicate to harassing his opponent with Phoenixes. It's more like, gonna come in, gonna kill, gonna really focus on building other units that are going to be good at defending against Ling and Roach. And the Phoenixes, even though they can pick up Roaches, they don't do a lot of damage to Roaches, and they're not that good against an aggressive player. And if this was spotted, then absolutely VortiX would be aggressive. And this is fast, so... But luckily for BabyKnight, it hasn't been bossed, even though I think we just saw some unit get clipped there.
Well, there's a little Zergling on the way.
So now he spots it. Will he try to be aggressive towards it? His drone count's at 60, which is very good, but he drones 8 times more.
Yeah.
Which means he's not going to try to rush with Roach and Lings.
Which means we could see a quick fourth even come down here from VortiX, up to the north especially. Anywhere else would be crazy.
He's got a double evolution chamber coming down, which means by the looks of it and the style of how he's played before on the map will be Ling upgrades. And he'll play like probably the same as he played against Lilbo. Zergling, Infestor into Hive most likely. Could definitely still be Roach upgrades though.
Interesting location of the Robo facility. A little bit vulnerable if it's to be breached, but at the same time will reinforce very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You normally do not see them in these wall locations at the third. That's for damn sure. That's a bit crazy, but...
Twilight Council is added on pretty fast, and it's actually joined up with when +1 attacks, so... and then +2 starts. It may be for Immortals, but usually when you don't get the armor upgrade like this, you get the Twilight down faster, and then gateways get added on, which usually suggests aggression from the Protoss player. And he would like to obviously continue to rise his gateway count up. I wonder what he builds on the robotics facility. Is it Mortals?
I think so.
Well, does he have the Robo Bay fast? Because if he doesn't, it's going to be like a Stalker Sentry Immortal play, which, in this position, I feel it might.
He may read into the fact, because, I mean, we were saying before that these positions aren't too bad for Swarm Host, and VortiX is going for that again. So...
Yeah, he's got the Swarm Host upgrade. He's not building them yet.
It could... Yeah, this could be a ploy. He could actually be doing this, because obviously the melee upgrades there, they're not really akin and attuned to Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, but you can build like 6 or so. Or depending on how much you want to go for, show them, but don't really concentrate too heavily on them.
Exactly.
Still go for your overall plan, which is actually going to assist a lot against a lot of gateway timings, which we seem to be seeing from BabyKnight. Immortal production, more gateways, and this has all been spotted, by the way, but with this Overseer. Sees the Twilight Council early, sees +2 attack being researched and can know it's +2 attack. You don't get the Twilight and then get +1 armor. And then hopefully can spot the Immortals, which he hasn't seen, but can imagine knowing BabyKnight, who loves Blink, it's probably going to be that way. So these Swarmers are going to be very good defensively.
Yeah, and he spots them, does BabyKnight. So he has to be very, very careful about how he's going to play this out. The Oracle keeping itself alive is very important so that it can eventually spot out even more, throwing down more revelations. And Vortex now is just going to walk to the watchtower with these swarm hosts eventually and start just pushing forwards towards his third, where BabyKnight's going to be stuck for a while.
He's going up to 12, which is quite a lot, obviously. But you can't do a gateway timing like this against 12 swarm hosts unless you have a lot to burst through the Locust. And ideally, when I say burst, is splash damage, which he doesn't have. The Robotics Bay was added on immediately upon seeing this, by the way. But we do have the overall goal plan of Vortex still intact. +2 melee, I assume +2 carapace soon, Hive and Greater Spire. I mean, Spire, but eventually Greater Spire, I would imagine, instead of Locust from this point. Obviously, instead of Ultralisks, focusing on Locust and the Broodlings together.
This is going to be a scary thing for BabyKnight to deal with. He moves to the middle of the map here and sees those Locusts into the fray. And, well, also, of course, as Vortex, you have to move back from that because this is a lot of firepower. They will kill off those Locusts quickly, but you don't want to lose your Swarm Host during in between the waves.
Sees the Immortals and now 100% knows his opponent's composition and knows that this is a very aggressive one. And eventually, we will see a switch up from BabyKnight, but for now, he is quite strong if he finds the right places to fight.
But can he? I mean, these Swarm Hosts are just going to keep him held at bay in the middle of this map. Really good force fields will seal all of this off, but...
Yeah, but you just... What are you really sealing off? I mean, the Locust, but again, they're just going to come again. Are you looking to just waste your energy for nothing here in the middle of the map, or are you trying to do something?
And all the energy that he wastes here, this makes him a little bit more vulnerable as this game goes on, because Vortex, if he decides to go for something aggressive, of course, he doesn't have quite the unit composition yet to do so, but he can keep pushing on with those Locust waves. It is buying time for the Colossi, of course, to deal with that, but still, you do want those.
Well, I think the Greater Spire is going to start now and further in upgrades, like it pops up, and he's going to waste a lot of these units. He has to trade off Lings and Roaches. He's maxed out. He needs Corruptors to be built, so he's absolutely going to take a fight. And even though the Lings die immediately, he's like, I don't need these guys anymore.
Yeah, good force fields actually to keep a lot of that back after he did retain it, but that's the last of his force fields pretty much.
So he can't do that again, which means he's going to have to fight the Locusts.
Oh, and he has to be very, very careful. Guardian Shield goes up. That was the last committal to energy apart from this one force field, but that's about it. This Time Warp's also helping out, but again, with that double Time Warp being used, how can he be aggressive? He doesn't have force fields, he doesn't have Time Warps, he doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I have no idea how Zealots got to the natural, by the way. Absolutely no idea. Maybe down south side or something like that.
Did he have a warp?
No,
he did have a
he's
warp
only
prism.
just built it.
Oh, okay.
Just the second built it, which is going across the map now. But
no
definitely
workers.
BabyKnight has a much, much better setup than he had in the previous game because he didn't just die to Roach Borrow movement, which really hurt him in the previous one. Hurt his economy and slowed him down. But now we're going to see the Warp Prism used actively. And that was one thing we didn't see in the last game for Vortex, is static D. He doesn't have any defense. So this Warp Prism is going to do a lot of damage here.
Zealot's got dropped in a bit of a weird spot, get caught between those evolution chambers, but also this Warp Prism. It's warping in a really strange spot. It could actually die after these queens before he even gets a chance.
Oh, there's a Corruptor there too.
Ah, get it. Oh,
yeah,
that's a good micro.
So didn't do that much damage, just a bit of harassment here. And Vortex is looking to take a new base. He doesn't know about the Greater Spire yet, and doesn't really have that much to do with it apart from Stalkers. He's going to try and push through, but with Spines and still quite a few Locusts and Brutals about to pop, he's not going to hit before they pop, and here should be the next switch up.
Yeah, he's anticipating it. He's getting that Fleet Beacon, he's getting that second Stargate, so good reactions here by BabyKnight, who, once you go up to that four bases worth of economy here from this point, you can start affording this. It's okay to commit to this.
So at this stage of a Protoss versus Zerg, the Protoss player kind of surrenders. Well, no, it doesn't surrender the game.
He sits back.
But he says, all right, I don't want to fight. Like, leave me alone. Let me build an army. Please, please. 10 minutes, no rush. Please, please. From this point. Not from the early point. I could rush then, but you couldn't. But I want no rush now. That's what he says.
Run away.
Because he needs to build Tempest. He needs to add on so much more to increase his composition. But he is going to harass. But the problem is, the Vortex is like, screw your rules.
This is actually the perfect time to blink under, considering that the Swarm Hosts are not burrowed. This is a fantastic movement here from BabyKnight. At the same time, they all die off.
They're all gone.
Wait a minute, how many Stalkers does he have left? There's still a lot of Broodlords and a lot of Transfusers available here, Sean.
He just lost all his Broodlords.
He's going to try and blink forwards, though, once again. Yeah, he did. He lost every single Swarm Host. This was a catastrophe here for BabyKnight, Vortex even.
And then there's the Warp Prism still alive. Oh my god.
I can't believe that happened.
Vortex, no, you messed it up.
I thought the transfuses were going to hold on, but then I was like, wait a minute, he has way too many stalkers left.
Oh, what a beautiful position for BabyKnight. And
that all comes off the back of saving the Oracle for the longest time, having Revelation on that, keeping an eye on all of those units as they were moving around.
What a move from BabyKnight. Just jumped in at it while before Vortex was ready. And all of a sudden, BabyKnight has a massive lead. He's killed off all the Swarm hosts. He's killed off all the Broodlords. He has a Warp Prism that is just going to go around and cause manic and chaos while establishing a 4th base.
Yeah, exactly. He saved the 4th base so he can keep going with his income. It can fly away.
Yeah.
And the 4th base for Vortex all this while hasn't really been that great for him. He's only now just transferring a few workers back up there. So
just add Tempest, bro.
Yeah.
Add Tempest and you're good to go. Like, because if he adds Tempest into his composition now and is able to take the next fight against Broodlords, I'm not sure if he knows what his opponent's rebuilding, though. That's the problem. Obviously, we can map hack and see everything. But BabyKnight doesn't see exactly what his opponent's rebuilding on. I mean, I guess Stalker Colossus is pretty good if he just wants to try to end the game fast. Tempest is obviously better for a longer game if he wants to be able to combat the army efficiently. But he may just try to bust this. He may, well, I guess if you don't try to fight straight in the middle, you can go pick off his slower expansions after picking off so many units. He's got quite a bit of mobility with the Colossus Stalker army versus this.
Yeah, it's having a hard time really getting any traction here as Vortex now is, unfortunately for him, he just can't compete with what we're seeing from BabyKnight.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, that was
Vortex
crazy.
Moving forward and then just a massive opportunity grab.
If only those Swarm hosts had been burrowed, even if they'd have just been burrowed alone and not actually moved forwards, then it would have been a much better position for him.
I remember in school, there was a guy that came in to teach us lessons, like life lessons, and he had like a pound coin in his hand, and he said, "Who wants this?" And everyone in the school class was like really quiet and stuff, and no one's like, and then I didn't do it, but some guy was like, "Yeah, I'll take it," and he's like, "All right, come get it," and he gave him the pound coin. What I'm trying to say here is that BabyKnight's an opportunity grabber. Vortex was like, "Hey, you want this army?" And then most people are like, no. But he's like, yeah, I'll take that.
Who is this teacher that's just giving out pound coins?
I don't know. I'm on a tangent, but yeah, it's like a life lesson. Is if you want it, go get it.
I wish I had a
and
teacher
that's
that gave me
exactly what BabyKnight just did. I tried to make a real life comparison. I'm really sorry. I'm a nerd.
Oh dear me.
I'll make a more sophisticated one next time that isn't for 14-year-olds. But BabyKnight now is going up towards his Tempests. Vortex has got a strong army, but likewise as BabyKnight once his Tempest pop. Even though he's hurting and losing a lot of economy, it's like a big blink. This one's a bit more courageous than the last one.
Yeah, because actually these Broodlords are being kept alive.
There's two Tempests not fighting at the back.
Where are they?
Bring him into the game.
4 sentries! Oh no, don't do this!
Okay,
well,
now if he targets down, and now can start fighting again.
Yeah.
That was stressful.
The Corruptors will eventually kill these off.
Yeah, but just get rid of the Broodlords fast. There's only Queens left.
Oh, there's actually not even that many Corruptors, you know.
Yeah, it's just Queens, really, and a couple of Roaches. This is fine.
Kill. He did kill the 4th base, though.
Yeah, it's okay. Just rebuild and go on again.
Yeah, he's building another base up to the north as well.
I'm surprised that there isn't or hasn't been a pylon that's really far north, or at least a warp prison that is harassing this 4th base.
Anything. It's been sat here for ages.
Yeah, this 4th base definitely should have and could have been harassed. Like this should have been killed, really, ideally, while that fight was going on. If he could have. But he takes a 4th and 5th.
But in the end, I mean, that trade was great for BabyKnight. He just monster moded it.
Monster mode. And now it's back to basically the drawing board, as they say. Because he has to go back to no units at all and then starts rebuilding swarm hosts.
Well, there's going to be a counter-attack here from Zerglings to try and shut that base down.
That's a really good move, actually. And there is no Dark Shrine, so this is going to be actually impossible to hold.
And he sends some Zealots up to that base eventually, so he can shut that down. But he's going to march through the middle here with this army. BabyKnight has played out this game so well. Really, as you say, being the opportunist that he needed to be.
Yeah.
And there you go, GG. Well done by BabyKnight.
Really cool series, though.
Yeah.
Game 1 and Game 2. Really enjoying this one. And I'm excited to find out what the last map is. I hope you like my stories.
I wish I got pound coins from my teachers.
It was just one time. It wasn't like it was a teacher that came in to have a speech thing. You know, they do that randomly.
Yeah.
You just have it's not a teacher. It's just like I don't know, a guy that comes in.
We had a teacher who was very angry, and on Fridays he would get drunk in the pub, and then we would have him on
at lunchtime.
Yeah. And then he would come in the afternoon and just like not really give a damn for our one lesson in the Friday afternoon. He was great.
How long was he employed for?
He was a plug for ages. Apparently he was an ex-carnival boxer. I think a lot of this might be made up, actually.
I think he's lying. I think he went to the car to eat his sandwiches and came back and told you he'd been at the pub.
He just didn't bother. Just like, it's Friday afternoon. Do what you want, kids.
Yeah.
I
I remember when I was in college, I went to college for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Because what it was is I was already left high school to be a pro gamer.
Okay.
Then I stopped being a pro gamer. I was like, no, I'll try and be good. I'll try and go to college.
Try and be good.
And then I went to college for 3 weeks. Then I stopped again and then went back to being a pro gamer because I couldn't stop it.
Okay.
And in those 3 weeks at college, there was people at college. I didn't do it, actually. I was kind of good. That used to go to the pub at lunchtime for a burger and a beer. People in college, like students.
Yeah.
Would just go drink beer and a burger and then go back and enjoy their afternoons.
I think we may have done this once or twice.
Uncle Lars, you rebel.
Oh, well, we had a pub right next to our school, so it was like kind of tempting, to be honest. Which is why we thought that this guy used to do it at Friday nights, and Friday evening. I'm pretty sure he did lunchtimes even. Pretty sure he did.
Life lessons from us too.
I wonder if anybody there's like one person from my old college like watching like it's that guy.
Yeah, what was the teacher's name?
Do I have to say it? I guess
does
he's
it
not going to
matter,
be
like-
watching. He was called Mr. Marcroft, and he was
Mr.
scary.
what?
Mr. Marcroft.
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 M-A-R.
And
Marcroft.
we thought he was drunk because after, in those Friday afternoons, in those lessons, if he got angry at you, throw his thing at you, the chalk thing.
What kind of school what kind of school did you go to? He teaches
I
a
had to wear
little
a
bit
tie.
tipsy in the Friday afternoon and he's throwing stuff at you.
To
It
be
sounds
fair, he was
terrible.
really cool.
It sounds absolutely terrible.
He was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This has taken quite the tangent.
Yeah.
Let's get back on track.
It's Yonsu, the third map,
Okay.
which again is a pretty good swarm host map.
Yes.
But is also a pretty good aggressive map for Protoss before we even look at swarm hosts.
Yes.
4 gateway, 3 gateway, pressure builds, immortal attacks, lots of different types to choose from, which maybe I could try.
You could. But I like the way he played out game number 2. Although you've got the map's a bit bigger, it's a bit easier to hold off against swarm hosts, even in those positions. And BabyKnight did have a big army donated to him in a lovely little hamper.
No, he took it.
Did he?
He took it. He's an opportunist.
It wasn't like a belated Valentine's Day present.
No,
and
he
look,
took the opportunity to jump and
he did.
Stole the army away.
And again, revelation, good spell.
Yeah, that was good. I'm happy you pointed that out.
Yeah, good spell.
Okay, so it looks like we are about to begin this next one. Any favorites before we load?
No, I'm still in the dark.
In the dark, I agree.
Yeah.
I concur. I think the same. Yeah, I don't know which one's going to win. I think it's up in the air to go first place. But they're definitely, this is interesting because when I loaded up today in this group, I loaded up. I turned myself on and loaded up ready for
You've
the
spent
cast.
too much time on PCs, but yes.
I looked at the group and I was so certain that 4GG would go in through in first place.
So
and I
was
was
I.
so certain that it would be VortiX, BabyKnight fighting for second. But how wrong was everybody? And I say everybody because everyone's the same.
Yeah, of course. They were like, oh,
Now, how
4GG.
wrong is everybody? Because now it's a fight between VortiX and BabyKnight. And then it's going to be a fight between potentially 4GG and one of these guys.
And then BabyKnight looked good against 4GG before. VortiX is looking good here as
But
well.
then again,
so
we have to keep in consideration what Lil Bo was quoted, it's like a newspaper article or something, but he was quoted saying this afternoon on my Skype log. He said that he would have preferred to play 4GG or BabyKnight over VortiX.
Okay.
And he was quoted there.
All official.
So, it's definitely still to play for. This is why this group's so good, I think.
All right, let's jump into game number 3 to find out the conclusion of this series. As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner our blue Protoss. It is Millennium's BabyKnight. And down to the bottom left, we have our red Zerg. It is Mouse VortiX. We remake all. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Can you hear that through here, Tim? You can? Okay, so if you didn't know, and you may have heard that screaming, that's the Claris fanboys outside trying to knock him to get in.
No, it's not. But if you want me to translate what they're probably getting excited about, they're probably getting excited about the equivalent of an Ultralisk chasing one Marine. That's what they're getting excited.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty loud. Okay.
That's my guess, but I assume that is the case.
I've never played.
No.
So, which strategy is BabyKnight going to use? You think he goes Immortal in? It's had a lot of success rate recently.
Especially on this map.
Remember Hero versus Jaedong?
Yeah, that
remember
was...
that one? I remember partying in Pro League.
But dude, like, that Hero versus Jaedong one,
whatever.
like, if he'd have got that Warp Prism, it was like on 1 health and it escaped with 2 Immortals in it. If he'd have got that, that would have been the game changer.
Jaedong's the best Zerg in the world, and he didn't defend it, technically.
Is this your opinion?
Well, no.
I think Sulky's the best
I read
Zerg.
it from the forums.
You quoted it from somewhere.
I quoted it from the forums.
You were like talking to Jaedong on your Skype. I'm like, I'm quoting it from there. He said he was the best in the world.
I read a quote the other day from TeamLiquid.net forums, and I'm quoting from there. We have Hatchery first opening from VortiX, kind of capitalizing on his opponent a little bit, who has opened and preferred gateway expands on these smaller maps.
I like how during all of that, my observing's been sick. I was just looking at you and just following that overload the whole way.
It's fine.
Not much else going on. But yeah, indeed. What did you say? Sorry, you had said a spawning pool. No, hatchery first. That's the one. Into gas, and then into spawning pool. Cool stuff.
I think the spawning pool and gas were built the same time.
Oh, okay.
Exactly the same time, pretty much.
Sick.
Or slightly after, but well, I can tell when the gas was lined up. I've lost my passion. I wasn't following close enough. So.
What's passion, man? What were we talking about? Jaedong?
Yeah.
I used to have passion for Jaedong, I guess.
BabyKnight sees the hatch first here.
Whee.
And the first thing that will be, well, the first thing that runs through my head is like, please, God, no. Please not 3 hatch.
Yeah.
But on a small map like this, you can almost assume it's not going to be. But sometimes that thought does kind of creep in. And it was, yeah, spawn and pull and then gas. And you see it's not quite timed up properly. But it's actually, even though you say it's not timed up properly, this is actually timed properly, if that makes sense.
Wait, what?
Because if you go gas first, if you go hatchery, gas, then spawn and pull, you can't afford the 2 queenslings and speed at the same time. So if you delay it by a little bit, you can afford all of them at the same time. It's just more efficient this way. So it's actually timed properly, even though it technically, well, as we described, wasn't.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Well, for now, BabyKnight over on the other side of the map only has the 1 gas so far, so could happily put on some gateway pressure, but his first probe did get spotted in the middle of the map, and he's probably going to have to send another probe, especially if he wants to check the 3rd location, but this being a smaller map, I imagine we're going to see VortiX delay that 3rd once again, because it can be vulnerable.
Yeah, but he's opened up very differently to previous and how he's played that. He never's taken a gas this early for speed this early. He took like 3 or 4 queens, then double gas at the same time and stayed on 2 base. So it's not the same. He could still stay on 2 bases, though, if he starts to mine gas again soon and play it that way. But at the moment, he's banking a lot of minerals, which means we should see a 3rd.
And we have a forge going down as well as 2 gateways.
A forge.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. With a forge, he's going to get +1 attack.
Yeah.
And with +1 attack, he's going to be going for a gateway timing here, most likely. You know, it can be 3, 4, can be higher.
But the +1 doesn't really line up that well with it. I think it goes over to a +2 blink all in.
Definitely could be, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to play a +1 attack here. It can be for a timing, which is what VortiX is first going to think with his overload inside the main base. Yeah. But it also could be for a fast 3rd into Twilight, into +2. Like that kind of play. Naniwa's used it a lot. There's been a couple of other Protoss players that have used it a lot recently. I think Patience has used it a lot. So it could be that. But the gateways are finishing up. There's no probe on the map, so and +1 is kind of slow. So maybe it's a 3rd base here? I'm just kind of guessing in the dark at the moment, but VortiX is like, what are you doing? Gateways are finishing up, and he's got overlords in beautiful position, by the way. Look at his vision.
Just keep an eye on things. I mean, this overlord over here can keep an eye on these 2 gases as well once they go down.
You called blink very early here. With like, I didn't expect it to see off 2 bases.
It's a build I use on this map actually, because it's really good over on the 3rd location. It's really good to pressure the 3rd base because of that high ground, low ground, and you have sentries as well to force field off this small area here.
Well, I wonder how that's going to be good against the star that we see from VortiX recently, which is Burrow Speed.
Not so good.
With no detection, it's not as good, no.
No. And he's even really scared of the detection, so much so that he's throwing that cannon down at this natural to make sure that he can't get burrowed. Whoa, no, BabyKnight, don't throw my prediction off Dark Shrine.
Wow.
That
can
wasn't
definitely
expected.
catch his opponent off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, so far in VortiX's vision, he's seeing the forge. He doesn't really know. He sees these units moving out, which would, go towards a small little timing with +1 attack, which it is. But this is pretty sick This is like a timing with +1 attack into the Twilight, into DTs. So he's going to put a lot of pressure on and focus all of the attention of Vortex on this third. Then when DTs sneak in, that's a big, big blow. Remember, this is tied apiece, so the winner of this actually goes to the round of 16.
And there's +2 started behind all of this as well. The pylon's going to fall, and he has to recall out of there. I still think he follows over with Blink.
At least the layer's done.
Yeah.
But this Dark Shrine isn't going to be as effective. Well, I guess it still can be, but it hasn't gone as planned. There's the pylon on the right-hand side here.
But if he doesn't do something with everything that he's invested into right now, he's falling behind. I mean,
yeah. The DTs actually have a lot of
ground to make up.
A lot of weight to carry, a lot of ground to make up. They have to at least snipe the third.
Yeah.
He may go straight for the third base, but then again, he plays against 2-base Roach Vortex, which seem pretty strong. He may warp in 3 and try to go for each mineral line. I think each mineral line would be nice. I think sniping the hatch and keeping the drone count high is cool, but what's cooler is killing all the drones.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I would agree. There's going to be that robo facility going down here as well.
Yeah, detection, immortals.
Yeah.
Here come the DTs, and it's been spotted now. That's pretty fast reactions before anything was killed, by the way.
Where did he...
and so far, he's murking his drones. He's got his drones that haven't really been lost that much yet.
He's only killing Zerglings here, so BabyKnight not really controlling this as avidly as he would like to.
And the first one's been stopped in the natural.
Kaboom.
And the one on the third's going to get stopped pretty fast too. He moves the drones again. Only 6 drones.
Wow, nice.
That's not a lot.
Nice cleanup. So now he's at, 48 workers to 55. The third base has to get established quickly here for BabyKnight.
Oh,
but
God,
can he deal with the counterattack?
I don't think he can deal with this now. He was meant to do a lot more damage than that. And there's a lot of units out. The drone count was low. There's so many units that we've just seen built. He's only on 48 drones. He's never really drawn properly to the third. He's just been building.
Just so many units.
Oh, this is not going to work out. Oh, God, he's going to get surrounded. He's got no recall.
Those are the best force fields he could have possibly hoped for in the end, but he's losing so much to the Lings and Roaches behind this alone.
Yes.
He lost the Archon as well. Blink was finally on the way, Sean, but...
He's been building Roach and Lings for so long.
Yeah, this is too much.
That's it.
Wow. Overwhelming. GG.
Wow.
Vortex advances on to the round of 16 in first place. What a...
Well, he extends his lead and kind of record against us. 5 games and 1 now in favor of Vortex.
And that final game was just a stomp. That was just Vortex saying... that graph just then, that really does show... exactly.
Yeah, and the first graph I think BabyKnight will look at is workers active and be like, wait a minute, you only had 50 drones all game and you're just building.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was... I think that Vortex, when he saw that attack try to come, and then usually you pressure with that and then try to take a third or something like that, or try something behind it, you deal with that, you defend it, and then usually you can drone up again, but he chose to keep on building and caught him trying to take third quite easily.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to go to a short break, and then when we're back, we're going to have more awesome StarCraft action here from the World Championship Series Europe.